All living things are connected in an ecosystem where energy flows from one organism to another and matter is constantly cycled. Ecosystems are systems that include both living things like plants and animals and non-living things like air, water, and soil. Within an ecosystem, each organism has a role, and these roles are linked through the cycling of matter and the flow of energy. This creates a pattern of life that keeps the ecosystem balanced and healthy. But what happens if something changes in the ecosystem? How does that affect the flow of energy and the cycling of matter? In this lesson, we're going to explore how changes in an ecosystem can affect the food web, a system that shows how energy moves from one organism to another, and how matter cycles through the environment. Let's start by talking about how energy flows through an ecosystem. The sun is the primary source of energy for most ecosystems. Plants, also known as producers, capture sunlight and use it to make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. This is where energy enters the food web. Animals that eat plants are called herbivores, or primary consumers. When an herbivore eats a plant, it gets energy from the plant. Then, carnivores, or secondary consumers, eat herbivores and get energy from them. This pattern of energy moving from the sun to plants, then to herbivores, and finally to carnivores, is how energy flows through the food web. But energy doesn't just stop there. When plants and animals die, decomposers like bacteria and fungi break down their bodies, returning important nutrients like nitrogen and carbon back into the soil. These nutrients help new plants grow, which starts the cycle of energy and matter all over again. This cycling of matter is a key part of keeping an ecosystem healthy because it ensures that nutrients are always being reused and not wasted. Now let's think about what happens if there's a change in the ecosystem. For example, what if a disease kills off a large number of plants? Plants are the foundation of the food web because they are the producers that capture energy from the sun. Without enough plants, herbivores wouldn't have enough food. As a result, the population of herbivores would decrease because there wouldn't be enough energy to sustain them. This would then affect the carnivores, which depend on herbivores for their food. This cause and effect relationship shows how one change in the ecosystem can ripple through the entire food web, affecting the flow of energy and the cycling of matter. Another example could be the introduction of a new predator into an ecosystem. Let's say a new carnivore moves into an area and starts hunting the herbivores. If too many herbivores are eaten, the plants could grow out of control because there aren't enough animals to eat them. This could lead to overgrowth of certain plants, which might crowd out other species of plants, disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. This change in the food web would affect the cycling of matter because decomposers would have more dead plant material to break down, but less animal waste and remains to recycle nutrients into the soil. Changes in abiotic factors or non-living things can also affect the ecosystem. For example, a drought could reduce the amount of water available in an ecosystem. Without enough water, plants wouldn't be able to grow properly. This would once again affect the herbivores that rely on plants for food, leading to a chain reaction that affects the entire food web. The patterns of energy flow and matter cycling would be disrupted because the ecosystem wouldn't have enough resources to support all the organisms that live there. Another important part of an ecosystem is the role of keystone species. Keystone species are organisms that have a large impact on their environment and help maintain the balance of the ecosystem. For example, wolves are a keystone species in some forest ecosystems. They control the population of herbivores like deer. If wolves are removed from the ecosystem, the deer population can grow too large and they might eat too many plants. This would affect the entire food web, as other animals that rely on those plants would struggle to find food. The removal of a keystone species shows how important each organism is in maintaining the balance of energy flow and matter cycling. In conclusion, ecosystems are systems where energy flows from one organism to another, and matter is cycled through the environment. Changes in the ecosystem, such as the loss of plants or the introduction of a new predator, can disrupt the patterns of energy flow and matter cycling, affecting the entire food web. Whether it's a change in the population of herbivores, carnivores, or even non-living factors like water, every part of an ecosystem is connected. By understanding these connections, we can see how important it is to keep ecosystems balanced and healthy. Each organism plays a role in the cycle of matter and the flow of energy, and when one part of the system changes, it can have a big impact on the entire ecosystem.